As you probably know, I talk to financial advisors almost every day, and very high-end financial advisors. I would say some of the financial advisors we work with are among the best in the world. And I'm going to tell you my experience briefly, but there's a moral to the story because I've identified what I think is an epidemic in our industry, and I want to run it by you and see if it resonates with you. So, just on my story, I built my business over roughly a 12-year period, and I built a very dumb business model. So much so, I had to redesign the whole thing, or I was going to leave the industry. But I had figured out a few things. You may know my story. I'm an introvert. I had call reluctance. I was hired by a Wall Street based firm in the 80s. And of course, back then, they just threw you on the phone to do cold calling. And I refused to do it. So I had to come up with a way to generate leads that was totally comfortable for an introvert like me. Now, it wasn't effortless. No client acquisition method is effortless, but I dialed it in. I cracked that code. But there were three metrics that I decided over those 12 years that it took me. I was acquiring clients, but other aspects of my business were very disorganized. I ended up with 1,242 non-ideal clients and almost left the business. But these are the three metrics that when I did that soul searching, a dozen years into the business where I was acquiring clients like crazy, but everything else in my business was a disaster, I resolved to fix these three things. The three metrics are your business. I felt like my business needed to be solid, sound, and sustainable. Let me walk through them. So for me, solid meant the clients were very satisfied. I would say the goal was to consistently exceed client expectations. So the question is, how do you measure that? There's only one way, and I've been in this business 40 years, and you'll never convince me otherwise. The single most direct method of measuring client satisfaction is an increasing client referral rate. So a solid business, which means you're exceeding client expectations so that your clients are satisfied. This is measured by an increasing client referral rate. Problem was, I had been in the business 12 years. My clients were not satisfied, and my client referral rate was flat or declining. So that's a problem. So there's metric number one. Sound means the business is growing year over year. And when I say a sound business, I'm not just talking about our industry. I'm talking about any business. To be sound, it needs to be growing year over year. Now, yeah, what I'm not talking about is your client's assets are growing with the market and therefore your revenue is growing. No, a sound business means that you're generating new revenue and it's higher year over year. So that was not a problem for me at the 12-year mark. My business was definitely growing year over year when you count client acquisition, new clients, and new revenue sources. Okay. So the question is your business growing year over year? And that's the second metric. Third metric is sustainability. So sustainability means, in my definition, and I get my definition from the affluent clients. So I've got data on this. So a sustainable business as perceived by your most successful clients means that clients are unaffected by any team turnover, especially you. So a sustainable business, like, can we all agree that a sustainable business would be whenever there's any turnover on your team, even you, that the clients are either unaffected or minimally affected? That's the definition of sustainable. Things go on as they always have. If there's any team turnover, even yours. So solid client satisfaction, sound, growing year over year, sustainable. You're not doing everything. In other words, you have delegated enough of the client service model that your clients perceive that they would be unaffected if something happened to you. I fixed this. So in The year 2000, I met Bill Backrack. I laid out these three metrics with him, and I dialed all this in. And then in 2002, we started training this. Now, I've done a deep dive. There is no firm anywhere in the world that trains these three metrics and has documented strategies and tactics to eliminate these problems and get these three metrics on track quickly. Do you think this is an epidemic? Because in the last, I'm going to say in the last year, certainly in the last year, probably since the pandemic, the more I talk to advisors, I think these three metrics are major problems in our industry. I have never talked to so many financial advisors who say, hey, I'm doing great. We got great revenue at our firm. We're making 500, 700, 2 million, whatever the revenue. We're doing great. We're very blessed to be in this business. There's no question about that. So I start digging in and asking about these three metrics. Are your clients satisfied as measured by client referrals? No, we've only gotten a handful of referrals in the last year. Okay, then let's not fool around. Let's not kid around saying that your clients are satisfied. Satisfied clients, if you're knocking your client's socks off, you're not just getting a handful of referrals. Let's be honest. Are you growing year over year? I can't tell you how many advisors are not growing year over year. They may be growing year over year if you count growth of existing assets. I'm not talking about that. Are you acquiring clients and are you generating revenue from new sources so that you're growing your revenue year over year? Yes or no? I've never seen such low rates of sound growth of business. And then finally, sustainable. I don't think that's unusual. That's why I started my business as far as working with advisors back in 2002, is because there is no other model being taught in the financial services industry to create a sustainable business where the clients are unaffected or minimally affected if there's team turnover, even if something happens to you. There just is no other. There is no other model for truly comprehensive financial services that makes the business sustainable. So those are the three metrics. You tell me, how are you doing? Is your business solid as measured by increasing rate of client referrals? Is your business sound? Are you growing new business, new revenue year over year? And is your business sustainable? That if something happens to you, your clients' services would continue with minimal effect to the client. If you need to talk, if you want to talk, just go to themarkofmastery.com/talk. Be happy to talk to you, see what's working, what's not working. I think this is something that we need to declare war on in our industry. We need to draw a line, say, those are the standards, those are the three metrics, and we should all agree to be growing and doing well in those three areas. All right. I hope this helps and look forward to talking to you.